How's the school coming?
Lincoln. It's doing all right.
Will it be open?
In October, we'll move into it Christmas.
I think so. That'd be a big deal, I think. Don't you? It's going to help a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for people.
It'll get us where we can start to work on Lincoln Crossing and the
Right, yeah. That's right, yeah. That'd be good. Pinning those things down, I think it's good. Get behind us.
Should have never been built like that. They should have never been built with no walls in them.
We should have had one big high school.
Well, years ago, before I ever kind of worked the school system, I tried to get Stanson and Clyde to buy the property where Walmart's at and build one high school and put 10, 11, 12 in it and put junior high in West High now and put 6th grade back down elementary where it belongs.
Yeah.
So you'd had 7th, 8th, and 9th together at West, and then they'd all go to Florida State. And at the time, I told them, I said, maybe you can work with the college, not knowing that dual enrollment would be coming in the future. And back then, probably $20 million would have built your whole facility.
Just think about that.
And so then you ended up, Walmart bought it. You know, it would have been a whole lot better. And I think high school, 10, 11, 12 together, you would have had 20-some hundred students, about like Dobbins Bennett, Don
Yeah,
City.
you could have, yeah. I think it'd been fine, too.
But really, freshmen are not ready for being in the rooms with seniors. 6th grade is not ready to be in middle school.
That's right. That's a big jump from 6th grade. Those things go down for some reason.
Yeah, it keeps messing up. See, there it's back up. It'll go back down, I'm afraid. You're on the finance committee, and I'm bringing up a subject tonight. It's not on the agenda about a SRO officer. Just listen real careful to me when I do it, okay? I need all the support I can get.
Okay.
Well, don't change your.
Yeah.
Don't change your. Mike, hey, he's got out of hand here lately at the restaurant. Yeah. You gotta watch him.
Good evening, everyone. As we come to order tonight for August the 12th committee meetings for our county, I'd like to take just a moment and speak about Howard. We're honoring his memory tonight, and our former chairman of our Hamblen County Legislative Body, our friend and colleague, Reverend Dr. Howard Shipley made his way to his eternal home this past July the 29th, and I felt it fitting to give him honor tonight. It wasn't just me. Several commissioners asked me to do so, but Howard was a friend, and he was a leader to many, including Hamblen County and this commission. He led this body with honor and integrity. As chairman and as commissioner of the 7th District, he did exactly what we're here to do, to try to do our best for our constituents in our county. We may disagree on something, but it was Howard's fervent prayer, if you will, to do the best he could do. And I think that's what we all hear about. He exemplified that. He was always trying to do that. He wanted to leave something behind that made Hamblen County a better place than when he found it. Chairman Shipley had many accomplishments in life and as commissioner of the 7th District. However, as I see, one of his greatest was that Chairman Shipley was a great man. Howard was a good man. So if you would, let's honor him with a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. There's a lot of things we could have said about Howard, but that's in a nutshell. Thank you all for giving me that opportunity. So welcome everyone. The rules are in the back of the room to anyone that would like to have those. There's a couple of things I need to go over. Let's see. Today's committee meetings, for today's committee meeting, rules are in the back, and I will remind that public comments are on agenda items only. And tonight, in order to accommodate a request, we will adjust our committee order. We were going to look at Public Services Committee first. So in doing so, I'd like to call on Commissioner Chairman Mike Richardson and call your committee to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I call this committee to order. Anyone like to speak to agenda items only can do so at this time. You have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll go on. There's no old business, new business. 4A, Resolution 24. It's a resolution to seek God's hand of mercy and healing on Tennessee. This mimics the state of Tennessee's resolution for prayer and fasting for July. We have that in the minutes here, or in the minutes. So anybody would like to add to or take away from this? Any discussion before we ask for a motion?
Chairman, I'll make the comment that I attended a prayer here in Hamblen County that the state, with a joint session or joint resolution out of the Senate and the House of Representatives, came up with this, that we make Tennessee look at July as a month for prayer and fasting. You can read the resolution. It goes over many points, but it was such an idea that Commissioner Huntsman asked me if we could forward this and include it for Hamblen County, and I thought it was a grand idea and proposed that to Chairman Richardson. So there we have it.
Thank you. So we have a motion to make that a resolution adopted by Hamblen County.
I'll make the motion.
We have a second with Ms. Howell. Motion made by Mr. Walker. Any discussion? No, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the like sign. So that resolution carries, the motion carries. Item 4B, surplus items for the Sheriff's Department. Looks like there's 2 pieces of equipment, a Ford Explorer and a Dodge Charger, that they would like to surplus and move to Gov Deals for auction. We have that in the form of a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Long. Any discussion? If none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Resolution, or 4C, Resolution 24, a resolution to amend the post-construction stormwater runoff regulations of Hamblen County, Tennessee. I'm going to ask Mr. Harrison to come up and explain this.
Good evening. I'm Clint Harrison, civil engineer here in Morristown. I do consulting work for the county. Anytime they have stormwater items that come up in front of the county, I help with the planning commission, that kind of thing. So this is just one of those items that the state of Tennessee has had stormwater regulations for communities throughout the state for years and years. They've gotten progressively more in detail, and they have a current permit that requires counties and municipal stormwater producers to have stormwater regulations to address erosion control, sediment runoff, those kind of things. And those regulations have been in, the rules have been in place for years. Some of the bigger towns that have staffing and, you know, folks that can write those regulations they're first on the list. They usually do those things first. And so Hamblen County's just been given, and not just Hamblen County, lots and lots of counties, smaller counties that don't have staff to handle those things, have been given leeway. Hey, we see you're making the effort. We know that you're on your way. We've just gotten this year to the point where, hey, the grace period's kind of over. Here's some regulations that other folks have done, and maybe you can mimic those. So we've gone through those together with the staff and tried to make some common sense additions or subtractions or revisions to those regs and make them our own. And we've done that. It's taken several iterations, and we've presented it, I think, to the body. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. And we're just trying to, you know, get the Hamblen County in compliance with the rest of the state and the rules that are already in place.
Thank you. Ms. Al?
Yes, thank you. So how are we? How are we in Hamblen County? I mean, are we, you know, on 1 to 10 being terrific, what number are we?
Well, there's a lot of, I guess, guidelines you could go by measuring where you are. But I think in general, when I look at things going on with stormwater, it's always a matter of, well, you know, how many calls do we get? How many times are we having people that are out of compliance? And I would recommend or point you to the county staff that kind of handles that thing. But I am a consultant for them, so I usually get one a month or something. It's not violations necessarily. It's, hey, we're going to do a project. We need to do a permit. Can you come, you know, tell us if we're doing all these things right? And so, you know, I don't think it's something that I do on a consulting basis only. And so I think in general, Hamblen County's taking care of things. And we kind of mimic with Morristown, you know, kind of try to see what they're doing. And I think we do a good job in the county addressing any issues that come up. The other thing is a measure would be what they call Category 5 streams or impaired streams, and they go test those things and they give us the list and they say, you know, we think based on the data these are impaired streams. And you know, I've seen the list for the whole state, and there's lots of counties with a lot more Category 5 streams on them than ours. I mean, we have ours, but the ones that I see typically are due to agriculture. Almost all of them are E. coli or some of those things that have to do with agriculture. Not, hey, you've got people dumping, you know, stuff in your streams, and this is why this is the way we've listed it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Green?
Quick question. You touched on something that had hit me in the heart, the agriculture part. It is massive, and to be brutally honest with you, I didn't get all the way through. But when I got started on the land disturbances, and you know as well as I do, when you get farmers that are working out where cattle can get the streams or whatever, it's going to affect them, because it was so massive, I didn't get read through it over the weekend. We didn't get it till Friday, honey, and that didn't help.
There is a huge part of the permit that exempts farming from regulations that would make it a hardship. I don't know the right term, but basically, I don't say it excludes them, but they're given leeway for farming operations as it applies to the permit application.
But I'm assuming they still have to put in for a permit at some point.
It depends on what they're doing, but I think just in general, the farmers are exempt from permitting on most of the things that they do that is disturbing soil, just because of the nature of their business. But there are times, I'm sure, that if the state found an issue, that they would go directly to the farmer.
Any other questions? Mr. Harrison? If not, we have anybody make a motion? Thank you, Clint. We have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Ms. Ahern. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Harville. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. The motion carries. Well, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wonder, is this the time to, do we bring up any noise stuff?
It's not on the agenda.
There we are. Thank you.
What is your,
Well, my concern is, I was talking with a friend today who was at a wedding, and she said, by golly, at 11 o'clock, they pulled the plug. Now, this was out of town. And then she was at something else in Jefferson County, and she said at 10:30. And I thought, instead of worrying about how much noise there is in the world, what if we said at 11 o'clock, you're through with the noise, and at 12 o'clock, well, I'll take the 11 o'clock, you're through with the noise business. And henceforth, you will be fined, or, if you don't, that's a number one violation, and if you get 3 violations, you're finished, you have to get another permit. I think we've been spending a lot of time on how much noise, and instead of, other counties have no difficulty with, oh my goodness, it's almost 11, we need to be through with the band, and, or the radio, or what do they call those, what anything. Anyway, and that's something I just think we need to address. We've been 2 years on how much noise is noise versus it's gonna stop. So, that's what I wanted to bring forward. Thank you, sir.
Chairman Cutshaw,
yes, ma'am,
may I speak?
concerning,
What she brought up, sir,
go ahead,
please?
go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. And I think Commissioner Neesmith said it best when he said he knowed how to pull the plug at 11 o'clock. We have kicked, I'll use the term that some of you used for the jail. We have kicked it down the road, in and out, till it's about time we developed a backbone and answered to our citizens. I don't know about the rest of you, but if I lived close to that, I'd be tempted to get a little more drastic than those good folks have. They're a lot better folks than I am, because I'd been tempted to cut the power off. But we need to do something about it. It's been way too long.
Now, to refer to your kicking the can down the road, ma'am, we are working on that, and Commissioner Richardson is in process of bringing more things to us. What Commissioner Howe just brought up will be a dandy idea to talk with when this comes back on our agenda and try to get something done. It's not that this body doesn't want more government like you want, more government. in this case. You want more government to step in and tell somebody what to do. That's what you're asking. So I'm just saying that this body is going to be taken up when we can. To her point, this body also has passed a resolution already. What was the time, Mike? We considered, was it 11 or 12? We have a resolution where we ask, excuse me?
I don't remember the
Yes.
time,
But we did, we have something in place now. We already have something in place that asks for people to subside, and we have been told that all we can do is a $50 a day fine. Somebody making $5,000 a night,
That doesn't matter.
exactly. So we can do this. We can do this. We can go and write them a citation each and every day and let them pay their $50. So what we're trying to do is find something more complete and see what we can do. But I take offense to you kicking the can down the road. We are working on this. It's in front of us. So
It's
therefore.
been 2 years, sir.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that. And we
years.
brought something and it came back to us. We did bring something. Again, I take offense to that. Mr. Neesmith, did you have something?
Yeah, Peggy, you was talking about shutting it off at 11. These bands will start playing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they play at 11. They play 8 or 9 hours.
Amen.
So it's not, you got noise from dark, 6, 7, 8, 9, right on up.
Amen.
We need to move on, Ms.
all
Hall.
I had, Peggy.
No, we'll move on and bring it up next time.
that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. We will now revert back to our regular order. Call on Justice, Center Public Safety Committee Chairman Tim Horner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Justice Center Public Safety Committee to order. Anyone wishing to address this may do so at this time. You'll have 3 minutes.
Noe 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I have one thing to say, and that is, when does the negotiations start? About kicking something down the road.
Amen.
Anyone else? If not, old business, we have none. New business, Justice Center project update, Tony Pettit, Burwell Construction.
I have control, right? Okay, let me read through the boring numbers and then we can see some pictures. This is the contract amount through change order 22. We don't have a change order tonight. $94,873,737.11. Contract substantial completion, now this is a little discussion here. The contract substantial completion is September 30th of this year. Currently, the contractor's behind. He's got a couple of major subcontractors that he's leaning on pretty heavily, but the substantial completion date's gonna be extended toward the end of the year. We haven't got a final date yet. But remember also that after substantial completion, which is defined as the owner may be able to use the building for its intended purposes, he's got 60 more days for final completion, and that's when we write him the final check, everything, the punch lists are done and everything like that. So right now, he's working on when his substantial completion is actually happening. But it's not gonna be September 30th. He's working on that. He should have that schedule complete. He's meeting with the subcontractors as last week, this week, all day scheduling meetings, trying to get that refined and identified. So any questions about that?
You said, I apologize, sir. You said it would be when now to finish it? I apologize.
Probably you'll still be operating in the first quarter of 2025, but it'll probably be maybe toward March. I won't really know until he finishes his exercises of refining his schedule. but substantial completion looks like it's past November 30th, and it may be December 30th.
You talked, yeah,
Substantial completion.
you talked about if I didn't misunderstand you, pushing the contractors underneath him. May I ask what the problem is?
Manpower, they just can't get the skilled craft workers that they need. They're running somewhere between 120, 150 people per day. I try to count them on Wednesdays. Fridays, you got some people working 12-hour day shifts and some people working 10-hour day shifts, and then majority of them working 5/8s, which is they're 40 hours a week. And then we got some last 2 weeks. There's people working weekends trying to pick up their schedules, but there is somewhere around 120 to 150 people on that job every day working. Every day being the weekdays, it tails off on the weekends. But, the contractor's aware of his obligations and where the contractual substantial completion date is.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's some of the bad news. Billed to date through July is $86,593,944.11, which is 91% billed. Material stored on site or off site is still somewhere around, well, it's not somewhere, it's $6,458,000, which is still a bunch of, that's a lot of big jobs, you know, you got material stored. And so if you take that and do that math, the actual work in place is $80,135,944, which is 84.47% complete. What the activities going on is drywall finishing, painting, ceilings have started, so some of the finishes in the building have begun to be installed. Millwork started, floor polishing, a lot of that's done already. Some of you, I think, even on the tour, we got to see some floor polishing. The electrical rough-in, which is really the sticky point for all the substantial completion. This guy's got 24 guys on the job. He probably needs 40. He just can't find them. Mechanical rough-in, they kind of work hand in glove with the mechanical. And when I say rough-in, it's the stuff above ceilings, it's the stuff in walls, though the walls are pretty well covered up right now. But there's a lot of work yet to go on above ceilings. And when we start talking about ceilings or finishes are going in, that's a good sign. The plumbers are setting fixtures. We'll see a couple of pictures here if you haven't already taken a glance at that. Outdoor concrete and outdoor final grading will begin this week, so we'll start shaping up a little bit around there. Let's see if I can operate this. You know, we talked about them closing up that one area there on the east end where they were feeding materials into the job. But this view shows the Sally Port where they come in, and it's actually a garage where people that are going to be detained or booked or not booked are pulled into there and then taken into intake on the lower level. This is a shot back around the other side where you see the front entrance and the columns, and you see that expansive roof up there. Over here is probably the most changed over the last, other than the fact that we closed that one end up, but over the last month, this is the most changed. You see the concrete truck turnaround. You'll see that on the very, very right side, you'll see the cooling towers and the 2 generators down, and that's a real steep bank. We talked about access there and decided we'd address that later if we needed to be. And that's the concrete there. That concrete crew will continue around the front. We've been working on trying to get some communication lines out of the way, and I would like to say that they're finally getting moved out of the way, out of the contractor's way, to where we didn't incur any kind of delays there. alleyway between the tower, the detention tower, and the Justice Center itself. We call that the Judge's Alley, and that's kind of their entrance. That's concrete now. This is the top floor. I thought this would be an interesting shot where I'm standing. If I was incarcerated, I would be standing on the floor looking out in the rec yard, and that's my view. And the top floor, I don't know how you get to the top floor, but that's the one I'd want to be in because you can see the blue sky up there too, that mesh. There's another shot. This is on the mezzanine level, looking down to the ground level in the detention area. The gray spot beyond there above the door is the control tower, so they have a vision back out to these areas. The unfinished block is where the showers are going to be. That is a epoxy finish. That's starting this week. They were looking for delivery for materials. They were prepping the walls before they installed today. Some of the commissioners walked back into the mechanical area, and I wanted to give you another shot of what they look like. This is the mezzanine area, taking another shot the other way. These two, I just remember when we were talking about this way back in pre-bid about how many doors we wanted to have that was access doors for feeding or anything like that. And so there's a few doors that have these traps that allow them to pass food in from outside to inside. It makes it more safe. And then also the good sign, talking about the electrician being a little bit behind, you see some security wiring being pulled, looped up in those doors. That's a good sign. This is a security ceiling that goes in at the mezzanine areas, and it's a screw-in facility. That really looks sharp. If you ever get back in there again, we'll go on a tour or two before we can't get out. And take a look at that. That's sharp looking. Again, another shot. This is exterior at an entranceway on the far east side of the building. I think that's kind of an inactive entranceway. Main entrance. Some of the finishes we talk about is hard tile. Plumbing fixtures are going in. They're not in yet. They're beginning to install. This is a courtroom. I hope that just shows up a little bit better on your screen than it does on this projector.
It does.
You kind of get the nuance of the stain and everything there. That's a shot taken down in the main corridor. There will be terrazzo on the floor here, but you see the reveal strips in the drywall will kind of accent that out, and that's looking toward the front door. Kind of a status of a room that we have. Another gang, we call them gang toilets, but they're large toilets, restrooms, and with the hard tile. Your entrance, and that's it. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. On that last picture, since the Oklahoma bombing, will we have any of those, planters that a Hummer can't jump, or you know what I'm talking about, those, any kind of a barrier?
I don't think I've seen that into the project, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Green?
Quick question. I noticed you was talking about polishing the floor. Are you having any problems with cracks, being that the ones that we rent, and I noticed when we went through, I noticed down on what they call the holding floor, and I hope I got my terminology correct. If I didn't, please correct me. I noticed how that they were able to stick their arm underneath the door. Are you having any problems with cracking in the floor, especially the bottom layers, being that they're like they are and that the concrete is like it is? I asked a lot of questions, and they left me with a lot more questions, to be brutally honest with you, but being that concrete is not right up to that door and there's that much distance, are you having a problem with cracking in the floors? Especially the bottom?
I'm gonna try to answer this as best I know how. The deflection of the beams caused that gap under the floor. It caused a gap under the sails too. But we were able to address it, and the contractor did a good job fighting off any extra cost because the caulk went from what would have been that to that. So we didn't have any issues with the caulk, unless he watches the YouTube channel of this and comes back after us. But so far, so good. It really showed up when we started swinging the doors in, and there's a requirement in there, TCI saying we need to be 3/8, close to 3/8 of an inch. They noticed this before any of those sails were set. So they were instructed by the notes on the drawings, by the structural engineer, when they poured that first elevated slab, and said, it's sagging, it's deflecting. They didn't say sag, they said deflecting. And because there's specific language in there that says you pour to depth, you don't shore or reshore, you pour to depth and let it go where it's going. They monitored that. At that time, before they poured the second level, they brought it to the structural engineer's attention, and he said, this is the design, it's still within design tolerance. They monitored that deflection all the way through, adding the block walls down the middle. Let me see if I can go back here. This block wall over on the left side, this was, the deflection was measured before that was there. The sails here, all through here, we're looking at a mezzanine level here. I don't know whether I got one this time or not. But anyway, they monitored that deflection to see if it was moving up or down anywhere. It did not. The initial deflection when they poured the wet concrete and it locked into the shear stud made the final connection. Okay, so it's not deflecting any further. Now, the question you asked was, is the concrete cracking? And I will tell you, and I've been doing concrete since I was made to get outside and I watch cartoons, so I've 12 years of concrete cracks.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things that you can do to help mitigate as much cracking as you can. So you will see some cracked concrete in this job, but it's not cause of anything structural. And there won't be a lot of, considering the amount of concrete in this building, there won't be a lot of that cracking. But I can't say there's no concrete cracking. It will be some cracking in there. And it's just contraction. As the concrete cures, it dries out, it gets smaller. And the inside concrete always gets smaller and always gets harder. Outside concrete, you have to expand and contract it all the time because the temperature changes. Inside concrete, once you get it climatized, it always just kind of shrinks a little bit for years and years and years and years. But I think you're asking about the structural integrity of that slab, and it's within tolerance. It's just that tolerance that's allowed for that deflection of that beam is different than the tolerance that TCI requires for the underneath the door, and that's the issue.
All right, my next question.
Okay.
They've
I was
not-
hoping I'd answered that one so good.
You answered well, but when we went through with you folks, it was emphasized that they still had a lot of machinery to bring up, and I think you passed that end earlier where we were watching them bring it up to the end and so forth. That's quite a bit of weight. I was raised on the farm, so that's quite a bit of weight. So my question to you is, when you get all that extra weight in there, and we're talking about everything from tables, beds, everything, are we gonna have problems?
Not with that issue, no. It's done what it's supposed to do. It's locked in.
Is it safe?
It's safe, yes. By the way, TCI is requesting a letter from the architect stating that it's still within design criteria. he's got the same concern, but it's.
We had a long
it-
conversation
it
coming out. I
hasn't-
enjoyed
It
it.
hasn't, and he may be doing that for the benefit of, us. So, but the contractor's been monitoring it ever since he's placed the slab. And after it cured, it's not removed. I can't find the door picture one. There's some, but that's up at level. That one shows a little bit about it. But they've monitored that hole ever since they poured that first slab. Any other questions?
No, the one that I would like to know is when the contract attorney's gonna step in, but I don't think you've got that party, so I know that's right, but I'd like to know from the mayor when they're gonna start with a contract attorney. That $64,000 deal on fixing the doors got my attention.
Yep. Any questions?
Any others? Thank you, Tony. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. That concludes that committee. We'll now move into the Finance Committee. Chairman Hahn, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee is called to order at this point. Anyone wishing to address the commission, you have 3 minutes. You may do so at this time. See none, so let's move ahead. We'll go down to, there was no old business, so we'll move into new business. Item 5A, Mr. Mayor, the bid tabulation, RFID.
In your packet is the bid tab for the bid that we did for the RFID service, which is your radio frequency ID for prisoners. And what this is a band that the prisoners will wear, and when they're served a meal, the CO will scan that to prove, and it'll show up in records that they were served their meal or given their medicine, or also the COs will have to, when they do their rounds, they'll have to scan in on like the far end of a housing unit to document that they've been on their rounds and that kind of thing. So this is the service that RFID is. And then if you look at the tab in your packet, there were 4 bidders. The low bid was Autonomy Today, or doing business as Cadmus. And a 5-year contract is $65,000. That was the low bid, and the best bid as evaluated by our committee that looked at them. And the recommendation is we do a 5-year contract with Cadmus or Autonomy Today for $65,000, and that you authorize me to negotiate a contract and execute it.
Sir, those are stronger than the hospital ones, right? I mean, they're gonna stick on there and, okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Doty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Harville, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments for the mayor? We'll vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Move down to item 5B, proposed road paving projects for the year 24, 25. Oh, there we go. We'll have our incoming road superintendent.
I've got these in here. I'm sure you've seen this before. We set our county in 4 different sections. We try to go around and put, get some in each section.
phases. There's 407, a little over 407 miles of road in Hamblen County. We drove the other day, we drove over 700 miles, picking these roads out, going back over them, back and forth. And that's how we ended up getting these. As we was doing that, we was noticing some of the roads that we used to have to pave. Now that you all have got us this milling machine and these equipment, that we can just mill them out and save a lot of these roads longer. So I want to thank y'all for that, because it is working. We started noticing that we can prolong some of this before we have to pave them because of the equipment that you got us in milling. And the guys are doing a great job at that. They take pride in their work, and I'm proud of them. Y'all should be able to see a difference between the old patches and what we got now. We'll go to this second page. The first part of it's got the state aid projects. That's not what we're here for, 'cause that's just for us. If you don't care, skip over that. Go down to where it says for the phase 1 fall of 24. This phase 1 is what we would like to get done this fall and get them paved. In order to do that, we're going to have to hurry up, because if we wait too long, I can't get them prepped and get them paved by this fall. And that's the reason we're here a little early. And then we also, so that's the ones that we'd like to get. And how we got these estimated, we went back to the last 3 roads that we've paved. And we've got the estimated cost on them per mile for the last 3 roads. And that's how we come up with these prices for the roads that we're fixing to do. That's the estimated cost. So, like I say, we'd like to go ahead and get all this phase 1 done this fall, get something paved. If you look at the phase 2, it's Chucky River Road. And I'd like to ask, because I would like to, this winter, if it's weather's able, I'd like to get this road prepped this winter for spring, pave it this spring. Chucky River is going to have a lot of prep to it. I don't know if y'all drove it or not, but if you drive it, it's going to be easy to find. We're going to have to do a lot of prep for that. So I'd like to have this winter time to get it ready for spring. And so that's the reason we're asking for that. So we're actually asking for $900,000 to get phase 1 and Chucky River phase 2. That's what we would like to ask for.
Any questions for Mr. Weiscarver?
Motion.
I have one.
Yes.
Are you gonna have to hire more help in order to be able to pave, sir?
I'm hoping not. Keep it. We're a few short now. We're going to have to hire back, but, you know, I shouldn't ask for any more employees.
How many are you short, sir?
Right now, I'm 2 truck drivers and a mower.
Okay. Quick question, when you, and I know this is outside of your paving, but if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I am wrong every once in a while, when they decided to go with what I call a one-arm garbage truck, and I may have used the wrong analogy. If I did, I apologize to you. Will that help you as far as having staff, as far as paving? Will that help you any, or will that just hinder you, dear?
As far as the paving and the garbage, that's 2 separate entities. I can't use a garbage man on the road. That's 2 separate things. It's all run out of our building, but that is actually 2 separate.
It doesn't intermingle then?
No.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Long, do I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Harville, thank you. We'll vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5C, resolution to authorize cooperative purchasing with the United States General Services Administration, cooperative purchasing program for the use and benefit of all county departments. Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, this is a resolution that would allow us to purchase off federal GSA purchasing contracts, and for us to be able to do that, buy equipment off of them, buy furniture or whatever items, public safety items primarily off GSA, is we have to have this passed. And we are, you have in previous years passed resolutions to allow us to purchase from other cooperative purchasing organizations. And this is the one that the federal government offers, local and state government.
Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Doty, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Richardson, any discussion or any questions for Mr. Britton? We'll vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's approved. Item 5D, a resolution to add federal purchasing language to the Hamblen County government's purchasing policies. Mr. Mayor.
In the last several months, we've come to you for permission to apply for this grant or that grant. And most of it's federal money that flows through the state. And the state is required to follow federal purchasing guidelines, which means if the state's required to, then we're required to. And so in our purchasing policy, we need to add this verbiage that's in this resolution for us to be in compliance, so that we're not, so the money's not, there's not a clawback. They don't ask for their money back, so that all of our purchasing requirements are met with the federal government. So this is just an amendment to our purchasing policy that the federal government looks for.
Have a motion to accept?
Second.
Mr. Reed, second. Mr. Huntsman. Any questions for the mayor? We'll vote the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5E, Opioid Abatement Committee, MOU. Mr. Mayor.
This document that's in your packet is, and you'll see that the watermark of draft 2, this is the second draft of it, is an agreement between the city and county whereby the city basically transfers all their opioid settlement money to the county, and our opioid abatement committee will manage those funds. And the committee met last week, and we went through some processes that we want to go through, some standards that we want agencies to meet, and so we're headed down that road. So what this organization, or what this memorandum does is it sets the guidelines for a joint operation of an opioid abatement program. In terms and conditions under utilization of funds, it says City of Morristown agrees to transfer to Hamblen County 100% of the opioid settlement funds, either allocated or which it has already received, and all future payments. So the city will transfer to the county within 60 days of receipt all the money that they receive from these opioid settlements. And then under joint planning and implementation, item A under number 2 is the Morristown City Council will appoint one person to our opioid abatement committee. It's a 6-member committee, and with Judge Collins, Commissioner Ahern represents you guys, Amanda Hale, the Finance Department, myself, and Jerry Wagner, who used to be CEO of McNabb, is on there to bring his expertise. And then Barbara Horton, who was our recovery court coordinator for a while, now works in purchasing and grant administration for us. So that's the committee makeup. And then under 4, reporting and accountability, the county commission will make all the appropriations of these dollars. Our committee will come to you with recommendations on how to invest the money in our community, and based on criteria that we set, based on presentations or applications by different agencies. One thing that you approved during the budget process was using some of these monies for the second year for treatment, for recovery court participants, and for the jail to work program. So that's already in the budget. You guys approved that during the budget process. Then also during the budget process, you approved to use some of the money for the stretchers or the gurneys for EMS. So those funds are already budgeted. And so, but we'll come back to you from time to time with recommendations on what to spend. We do have one included in a budget amendment that Amanda will present, and that's $5,000. And this is the committee made this recommendation last week, $5,000 to buy Narcan boxes for all the schools. And this was at the request of the school system. So there'll be a container near the AEDs in the schools where the Narcan will be stored. And so teachers and staff know where it is when they need to use it on any students who may have overdosed. So what this MOU is basically the agreement between the city of Morristown and Hamblen County in operation of this opioid abatement committee and how the dollars will flow for the next 16 years. There is a 60-day out clause in here for both.
Any questions for the mayor? Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Doty, a second. Mr. Huntsman, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5F, budget amendments. Miss Amanda Hale, Finance Director.
The first budget amendment you have before you tonight is for the Ag Extension Office. When the budget was first prepared this year, I figured in a 3% COLA for their employees, but as y'all know, you approved a 5% for all other county employees during the budget. So this budget amendment is needed to get the Ag Extension, the ones that's paid through the county, to that 5%.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Harville, thank you. Ms. Howell made the motion, I'm sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Excuse me.
And the second and last budget amendment before you tonight is just what the mayor spoke about, the opioid abatement committee and how those funds will be used. $5,000 is being transferred to purchase the Narcan boxes that you just mentioned. There's some travel and other charges, some money being budgeted there for some training and travel that will come with that committee. And then the 150 is again what you all already approved during the budget. It's just the amendment hadn't been done. So you approved to give 150 through the jail to work and the drug court, but then this actually appropriates those funds.
Any questions? I ask for a motion to accept.
Motion.
Mr. Richardson, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Doty, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have an item F3. Mr. Long?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to bring something to the Finance Committee and the full commissions tonight. A real concern that I have the safety of the students of Hamblen County. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and Mr. Bunch and Mr. Mullins, Sheriff Mullins. They have done an excellent job of placing SOR officers in our schools. But I think everybody understands that we have 3 schools that do not have SRO officers in them. That being said, Alpha and Manley Elementary is on the same campus. That officer, is in that building and can transfer to the other building in a matter of just, a few minutes and seconds. The concern I have tonight is Russellville School. That intermediate and primary building is not on the same campus. It's divided by over a mile, I'm going to start by saying this has been bothering me a little bit when we talked about the SROs. The state of Tennessee will not furnish SRO for the other school at Russellville. And so I think as a commission, our job is to protect our people in our county. I went up to this school and I parked at Russellville Primary, and if we had a target that was hitting Russellville Intermediate, by the time they radioed down to get the SRO to come that way, it would be in a matter, I've done it 3 times, and it's a matter of about 4 to 5 minutes before they can arrive at Russellville Intermediate. Now, when you do your research on these shootings in Texas, Florida, and Nashville, the loss of life occurs within the first 3 to 4 minutes. So I think, and I totally believe that Russellville, one of the schools, is a soft target. And I think it's our responsibility to step up and make sure that we protect the students and the staff in these schools. I do not want to stand before a family member or staff family or the media and answer to why we did not put one at Russellville, knowing that that was a campus that did not have one on the campus. And so I talked to the mayor, I talked to Mr. Bunch, I talked to Sheriff Mullins, and the cost of the SRO is $123,640. Now, some of that would be non-reoccurring expense. And tonight, I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we furnish a SRO officer to the Russellville campus, and that we fund that out of fund balance. And I'm going to put that on the floor as a motion, and if we get a second, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that Mr. Bunch come first and explain the Russellville, the reason why, and then the mayor and Mr. Mullins.
Okay, before you make that motion, I personally like to take it one step farther, because this has been a passion of mine also. And I made it very clear whenever we had the idea, the great idea, and the funding from the state for SROs at every school, and we wound up with 3 schools that didn't have an SRO. I said then, and I say it again, I echo what you said about Russellville, but you go to Manley, especially at Manley, if that SRO is in one building, he's probably, and his car's at the other building, then you're probably going to take 3-4 minutes to get from one building to the next. And again, it's that crucial time there. And I still maintain, I said it months ago, and I'll say it again, this is one of those times when we need to bite the bullet and put students first. And not just at Russellville, although I agree Russellville, especially with the road construction getting ready to start and everything up through there, it's going to be a headache. But I think we need to put one at every school. I think we need to do that. I think it's a shame that we don't fund an SRO at every school in this county. I said that then, I say it now, and so that, before you make that motion, that's my thought, that's my take on it. Yes.
Are you suggesting we go ahead and get 3?
I'm suggesting we get as many as we need. Right now, we need 3. I say we 3. I don't think to me, there's not a question There's not a question.
Yeah.
Whether we do it or don't, it's a matter of whether we will or won't. I think we're at that point where we have to.
Chairman?
Mr. Neesmith?
What about Lincoln, Bobby? The Lincoln Elementary, and then we got the new Lincoln going in. Are we equipped with SROs in
Wait a
both of
minute,
those?
let's see.
Well,
We
we'll,
are gonna put one in the new Lincoln. Sheriff Mullins and I have been talking about that. When we do that, that will generate a new school ID number. And when you get a new school ID number, that then will allow the sheriff to apply for the $75,000 grant. The difference in the three schools we're talking about, I do not have a separate school ID for those buildings. They're all under one school ID, and the money that comes for the grant that the sheriff gets every year and applies for is tied to a school ID number. I have requested that that be changed to have a certain distance between the buildings or a response time, and I was not able to push that through with the Tennessee School Superintendents Association to get that through.
thank you. That clarifies. But that's my heartfelt approach. That's my plea to this commission. Rodney?
Can I say something?
Yes. Mr. Hutchinson?
Okay. I raised 4 kids right here, and I'll tell you what, it would take just one time to have an accident like that with somebody shooting. And we'd look back at ourselves and we'd say, good night. As a life, it was worth, you're looking at what, $400,000 to replace somebody? We got plenty of money and a refund. Why do we want to take a chance on that? And that's what's going on in the world today. It's reality. We're living in it.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to go ahead and do it.
And I think also a uniformed officer in a school is a deterrent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you break into houses that are unlocked, they're locked, it's harder, you move on.
Yeah.
Same thing with an officer in the schools.
You want to make a motion?
Well, with that being said, then I will make a motion, we put one in all three of them, but, you know, when we get to second, we need to talk to the mayor.
We have a motion and a second, Mr. Doty. You okay, Mr. Hunter? You have
I'm
any-
good.
Okay, good.
And I'd like to say something if I could.
You go right ahead.
You know, we're talking about the time frame when, in the middle of the day, you actually really need to look at the time frame at the time schools are drop-off and pick-up times, because you can triple to quadruple that time just from the sheer traffic. Because I do pick up in the Russellville and East Ridge areas, and there's times that you're not getting any vehicle through, no matter if it's got lights, siren, or anything, just because of
No
the
place
sheer
to
numbers
go.
of vehicles that are sitting there. There's no place for them to go. So I think it's a marvelous idea, and I applaud Mr. Long for bringing that forward to us, and I urge the commission to step forward on this and approve.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have anything to say?
Ask
Clarify
them
the
to
motion.
speak up I apologize, sir, so we can hear, part of the people, if they're listening to a tape, they're not gonna be able to hear
Okay.
what Mr. Bunch said, and most people wanna hear this because they've
Sure.
got kids and grandkids, sir.
Anyone? I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's clarify that motion, please, and what schools are involved.
Okay, I'll let Rodney clarify it.
The motion would be to put a SRO officer at Russellville. I believe, Mr. Bunch, it'd be the intermediate school.
The way that I would urge the commission to word it would be to put a second SRO at Russellville, Alpha, and Manley Elementary Schools. Because right now, I don't say this one's at primary or this one's at intermediate. What we're really what Mr. Long is asking for is to have an SRO at each of those 3 elementary campuses that have the 2 buildings. That's what the recommendation would be.
Motion would be a second officer at Russellville Elementary, Alpha Elementary, and Manley Elementary.
Okay, thank you. Are we all straight? Any questions?
Now,
We need to get a second on
Mr. Doty did.
Okay. When someone is absent, do you find somebody to take that SRO?
If one of the SROs is
Got-
out sick or something, another SRO, they're not there all day long, but there'll be another SRO that will visit that school throughout the day. We'll have multiple of them changing to that school just to get that school covered.
So this
Okay.
is one I want to applaud them for. So
Amen.
what we are experiencing is that if a SRO were to be absent, either because they were at training or because they were ill,
Yeah.
law enforcement is working so that the SROs will rotate around to have a presence at those schools at various times to keep the deterrent factor so that there's not a predictability of when they will be there.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we have pulled, and a perfect example, last year, I was at Whitesburg Elementary. The Russellville Elementary SRO was in training. The principal called, I'm worried about a parental custody issue at Russellville. The SRO immediately left Whitesburg and went to Russellville to accommodate. So they are working very well as a team to move around to where that need is if there were to be someone out for training and other items.
Okay.
With the patrol division, if we're shorthanded in one school, our patrol division in that area of town,
Okay.
when they're not on the call, they're to do walkthroughs as well.
Okay.
Good
thank you.
job.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's around $370,920 out of the fund balance. Some of that I know is non-reoccurring.
Right. About, you could roughly say $50,000 per is non-reoccurring, and the rest would be reoccurring year in and year out. We have the reserves to take care of this, and we grew fund balance based on the estimates that we've put together so far for last year, and so I would recommend that you fund it.
I too want to commend Commissioner Long. It's been something that's been on my heart. I know it's been on his heart, and I appreciate him stepping up and initiating this. Outstanding. So let's take a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes.
Hey, Bobby. What about, Mr. Bunch, can you get numbers on these schools you don't have numbers for
No.
now?
He's trying, but no.
Can you get one from Manley or Alpha?
No, it's a DOE thing.
We could, but if we do that, what will more than likely occur is I will need another principal, there are administrative things that go every time I give a new ID for the school, and in the long run, our costs will actually go up. So we looked at that, and I'll go back and relook. But when we looked at it last, what I was told is, if I need 2 IDs for Russellville, and I need 2 IDs for Manley, and I need 2 IDs, there are certain things that come with establishing that ID, and the amount of people that I would need to add to meet the requirements set by the state to meet that would exceed the $75,000 grant. So the return on investment was not there with going through the heartache. I won't use the phraseology I started to, the heartache to make that occur and get it to where we could get the grant. That was what we looked at last year when this first started.
Hardship.
And I just want to say thanks to everybody involved in this process. Folks, go back to where we were when I first got here. We had 4 SROs, 2 in each high school, 1 county, 1 city, to the point now that we're debating, we've got all the schools covered with 1, and now we're debating, do we put a second? I just want to thank you for all of our students and staff for putting their interests in in the forefront of your thoughts so that we keep them safe. So, thank you.
I have one question. You may not be able to answer this off the top of your head, but if we got a school ID number for those other 3, and I know you'd probably have to add another principal.
Probably a little more than that.
Yeah, but,
Assistant principal.
you know, you've got a principal and assistant principal on those campuses, so you're not talking about a huge amount of money to take the assistant principal up to principal. I understand there's other things in there, but how much of a difference would there be if we got the
I will
grants?
go, I will go back and relook at it. We looked at it last year when this first started coming up. Was it worth it? And the answer that came back to me from our business section and looking at what we would have to go through was not there. But I'll take that action to go back and relook at it and give you a better answer. And it's not one, we would still need the SROs. It would just be a difference of whether we get the grant or not. And it'd take me time to do that. So
Okay.
Please don't allow that to hold you up for what you're trying to do.
No, I think we're gonna move ahead with
Okay,
this.
all right.
But thank you very much.
Mr. Bob,
Yes.
may I ask a question?
Yes.
Would he share that with every one of us when he gets the figures, please?
He will.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Oh, just real quick. Just real quick, for our regular calendar items for the final meeting, Mr. Mayor, if you've got a second. The regular calendar items has one for the bid award for the fire truck purchase for South Hamblen that we didn't have in the committee meeting.
Bids for the fire truck for the south. This is part of the CDBG grant that pays $425,000 of a $500,000 fire truck. The bids will be opened Thursday of the meeting that afternoon. So we don't have any bid results right now, and so we will bring that to the commission on commission day.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Hahn of the Finance Committee. We will now head to the Personnel Committee. Chairman Doty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do I have anyone wishing to address this committee on agenda items? Do so now. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Item 3A, old business, there's none. Item 4A, approval of education pay submissions. And we have two folks that have received degrees. I need a motion to approve these, please.
So move.
I move Mr. Horner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Hahn. Thank you. Any discussion on this? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our sheet shows a 4D, but we have none listed. for-
Right.
So we'll
Is there one, do you think? Okay.
So we'll detract from it.
Take that off the regular calendar in a minute.
No items of interest. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Doty. We will now turn to Calendar and Rules Committee. Chairman Doty, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I call the Calendar and Rules Committee meeting to order. Do I have any visitors wishing to address this committee at this time on agenda items only? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Old business, we have none. New business, item 4A, the review of regular calendar items. And if you would remember, we will have the section B on this one, which will be the award for the fire truck grant. And then under budget amendments will be G3, which will be the funding for the new 3 SRO officers that we just passed in committee. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Ahern. Any discussion on this? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Doty. Calendar rules, that concludes our committees. We've got a few announcements, and then we'll move to another item.
Oh, excuse me.
What did
I
we
would
miss?
just, I missed the consent calendar.
Oh, my.
I'm sorry, I
My
was
bad.
moving on through. I'll call the Calendar and Rules Committee meeting back to order, and I'll repair my mistake. Item 4B is review of the consent calendar items. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Hahn, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Ahern. Any discussion on these? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Now that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Thomas. My bad, too. I overlooked that. Flipped the page. My bad. Okay, that concludes our business as far as agenda. A couple of announcements. This Thursday evening, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. is the retirement reception for Road Superintendent Barry Poole. If you can attend, come by that, 2 to 4, out at the road department. Also, we have a swearing-in ceremony this coming Monday, a week from today, swearing in for Hamblen County government's elected officials that were recently elected. They will take office beginning September 1. Also, Commissioners, October the 1st this year. It's Tuesday, October the 1st. I believe that's right, Tuesday. Anybody?
That's correct.
Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday, October 1st, we have our regional meeting this year, the Tennessee County Commission Association Regional Meeting with Charlie Curtis. It will be in Norris Museum of Appalachian this year, not downtown Knoxville. So if you are planning to attend that, please let Trish know. We're going to schedule the van, and we'll see what other accommodations we need to do for those that would like to attend that. Is that good? So, all minds clear?
Chairman Cutshaw,
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
When are we going to hear from the contract attorney, and when are they going to start negotiating the bills that we have kicked around?
Yeah, ma'am, I can't answer that. You'll have to wait on what we all get, I guess. So I don't know that answer.
Okay, could you ask the mayor so that we could at least have an
Well, he's
idea?
alluded that they're in conversation, and he will let us know when that time comes. You're welcome to ask him. I've asked him. I mean, they have talked with the lawyer, and under the way I understand it, we don't tip our, hold on, Bob, I got some other announcements. Yeah. You don't tip your hat to the other team until you're ready to roll. That's what I understand. It makes it public information, and they can use it against you.
May I address the mayor, please?
Well, you're welcome to address them.
Mr. Mayor, we've seen deals, and I asked if I remember correctly, it was a $64,000 nightmare. Any idea when this will start negotiating? Okay, any progress that you could report to us? When can we expect a report? Okay. That's what, that was the answer the last time, so I'm certainly looking forward to it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Somebody correct me, was it 64 or 62?
I was
62?
thinking it was 64.
I was thinking 62, so I don't know for sure.
I can pull my notebook, but I'm
Yeah.
almost positive it's
Okay,
64.
now, anything else? I want to read one thing real quick. It was alluded to that we'd kick the can down the road on the noise. I just want to read this real quick, that Chairman Richardson has put in time and work on this. And last year, on the 18th day of May, 2023, this body, by the way, passed a resolution that reads, this legislative body of Hamblen County wants to ensure its citizens can expect to have quiet enjoyment of their property during certain hours of the day. We took this action. Also, this legislative body, Hamblen County, finds that unreasonable and excessive noise is detrimental to the physical and mental and social well-being of the citizens of Hamblen County, as well as to their comfort, living conditions, general welfare, and safety. and the property owner or tenant has the right to enjoy his or her property without unreasonable or excessive noise interference from their neighbors. Disruption of quiet enjoyment or from non-compliant offenders may constitute a legal nuisance and can be reported to law enforcement for legal action. So there, ma'am, we did take action, as you alluded, we kicked the can down the road.
Well, you are correct, in my movement. I'd just like to see something done.
Well, we all would,
quick-
but your reference to this body not trying to do something is not
Well,
taken very
my
lightly.
reference
This
was
chair
we had
doesn't
kicked
appreciate
it.
it.
And we have. Quick question, is there any chance at some point we can be like the city and have our boards
Is that what you
online?
want? Is that what you needing? Is that what you're asking?
May I ask a question, please, sir, without you correcting
And
me?
yes, we can at some point maybe do what you're
Well,
asking.
my example would be like the solid waste board.
Yes, ma'am.
I had questioned about when the appointment was last made and when it was due again. It would be very helpful. I know the city has it on their webpage, and you can go in and access it, and it's very handy, especially if
If
people
they
are.
have it, then you ought to be able to see what their
May I
appointments are.
finish, please?
Well, you can, but you're making a point that we all know.
Well, I'd like to see it for Hamblen County, because I've made several requests, 5 to be exact, of when Mr. Horner was appointed to the Solid Waste Board, and I would love to find a way to get an answer, sir.
Gotcha.
It would be very handy, not only to me, to other members of the community as well.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Now, anybody else?
Hey, Bob. No. Thank you. It don't do any good to have 20 schools and not have 2 of them perfect. Not at all. Hey, Dan, for those Oscars.
Bobby?
You okay?
Like
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think she's going for surgery.
All right.
Right.